Hello, I would like to talk to you a little bit about a tutorial on how to use GoToWebinar and GoToMeeting. On your desktop you should have an icon or in your tray about GoToWebinar. If you double click it, you will see that you will have options for either GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar. The difference in using those would be GoToMeeting, everyone is unmuted, everyone has an equal opportunity to speak, and there is a limit of 25 seats in that meeting. With GoToWebinar, we have an option of 100 seats, and attendees would be in listen-only mode. The only people that could speak would be the organizer and panelists. So if we were going to set up a webinar, we would go to Schedule a Webinar, and what it'll do is it'll open up the website where you would actually set up the webinar. So we'll walk through that right now. So we're going to show this as testing webinar system. And you could put a description in here of what the actual meeting or training would be. And also here you can choose if it's going to be a one session, a series, or a sequence of meetings. So if you're going to be meeting monthly and that type of thing, and you can set up that frequency later. So we're going to set up this webinar for Wednesday, March 14th at noon to 1. This is the time. Everything so far looks good, so we're going to go ahead and choose schedule. Okay, so now there's more information here that it is going to ask about who is going to be part of this. So we could have a panelist. So editing the panelist allows you to add additional people that are no longer, that are unmuted and can present. So I can add this person as a panelist. You can add more, or you can click Save. And what that does, up here it says that panelist is added to the webinar, and you will see down here that this person is added as a panelist. Now, you will notice also the organizer was unmuted. That's who we are logged in as, CSCA. The panelist is also unmuted, and this is their access code. And then the attendees get a different access code where they are muted. So it is important that you keep those access codes separate so that people are aware of their role within this meeting. So when you want to send this to your attendees, you would email yourself the invitation or copy the webinar information, and what it's going to do is then email attendees the opportunity to register for this specific meeting that you're going to have. It'll send information to the general info at coloradoschoolcounselor.org. You can edit all of this information. So if you're confirming this and you need to edit whatever it says to the registrants, so this one says, this is the name, thank you for registering for this, and you could say specific information, and it'll give them actually how to actually go in and join the webinar. It has the webinar ID. You can put specific information about your meeting and that kind of thing in there as well. So once that's in there, there's an option for practicing or starting. So we'll go ahead and do a practice just so that you can see what it looks like when you set this up. So we're going to launch the application, and it's going to take a minute. And I'm doing this from work, and sometimes it really takes a minute. Oh, it's showing up over here. Perfect. And so it is showing that it is in practice mode. Let me make sure that you can see all of this. So a couple things over here. It says it's in practice mode. You can see what the audience is seeing right now, so they don't see anything on the screen. So this is the title of the actual meeting, and it has some information there. When you're ready to show your screen, you can choose this. You can choose from the different attendees who you want to give the presentation to be able to show their screen. So the other part that's really important is that when you're ready to start this, anyone that is not muted, so a panelist or the organizer, can come on at this point before the meeting actually starts, and you can talk and say, you know, what's going on, get some information, and when you're ready to begin, then you would hit the start button, and then that would start the actual session. The voice would come on and say that the meeting has started, and then whoever is organizing would then announce what the meeting is. It would then notify people that they will be in listen-only mode. People can ask questions down here, so they might have their hand raised. The questions would show up and ask who it is that asking the question, and then you can ask that question privately to the organizer or to everyone attending. Also, you can ask polls if people are there, maybe something you want to find out from the people that are attending. And then also there's a chat feature that you can send information to the entire audience or a specific question to the staff, which would be to the organizer. People can choose to either enter by telephone, which has this information on how they dial in, or they can use the mic and speakers with their computer. Again, people that are attending would be in listen-only mode until, like if you want to have a question and answer session, they could ask their question and then you could go into the attendees. They would list them under attendees and you could right-click on them and choose to unmute that person, or you could unmute everyone so they could ask questions depending on what you need for your meeting. So staff would show up over here and attendees would be over here. Your dashboard shows who all is here. You can actually see who is actually watching the screen or is doing other things, and if there's people that have raised their hands. So that's pretty quick and simple in how to set up a webinar. At any point, so we can close this out now, in this webinar you can edit it up until the meeting starts. You can see in here how many people have registered for it, and the other part is when you set up another webinar you can actually copy the similar settings from a previous webinar. When you set that up, I didn't mention that. I don't even know if I can do this now. Oh, so you can schedule a similar webinar, but when you're setting it up in the title, you can choose from an option that there might be a similar webinar that has been conducted that is similar to what you're doing. So at this point, I think that will get you set up on the GoToWebinar and GoToMeeting. I could go quickly through how to set up a GoToMeeting. Again, if we want to go to the GoToMeeting app, and here's the GoToMeeting, so we're going to schedule a meeting, and that one's pretty straightforward. With that is that you put the title here, you put the date and the time, this general information, and then you just schedule it. So the GoToMeeting is pretty straightforward. Like we said before, smaller groups with everyone contributing would be pretty easy to use that, and there's also the same screen sharing capability and all that type of thing within GoToMeeting as well. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me. My email is mmcclain@coloradoschoolcounselor.org, or you can call me 970-302-6101. Thanks so much. Have a great day.